Praise be to our Lord Jesus. Welcome to the 7th episode of Views of Indian Christians Express, Voice, an initiative of the Indian Catholic Forum. Normally when we have these videos, we talk about issues affecting Indian Christians. However, today what I'm going to talk about affects every Indian. So it's going to have a broader panorama, which I hope you will enjoy watching and also find something of value for you. And this is in the context of the forthcoming Lok Sabha elections 2024. Obviously, there are going to be many issues, candidates, parties, and it's very difficult to choose from. Therefore, you need to vote very judiciously. And in order to understand this, a lot of commentators gives data and statistics, but as you've seen in the past, I avoid that. I rather choose a story or a parable to share my story. And today's parable or story is something I made 50 years ago. Actually, I've used it in different contexts according to the circumstance. So this story is about a pot of milk. Now this milk is very nourishing and is meant for everybody in the village. However, there are various categories of persons who resent other people drinking this milk. So one group of people are those who say, don't come near the milk, don't let your shadow fall on it, don't touch it, you will pollute it if you touch this milk. There's another group of people who use power, lathis, or even guns. Of course, this is a toy gun, so don't send me to jail. But they use such instruments to threaten people and to try and deprive them of their legitimate rights. And then there's another who has got, say, some vested interest. So brings a big bowl, a cup, and siphons off some of the milk from that thing. I'm going to have for myself separately. And then there's the most dangerous, malicious of all. That is the person who pours acid into the milk. Now tell me what happens when you pour acid into milk. It splits, and when it splits entirely. And dear friends, I believe in science, but I have not yet come across a scientist, they may have gone to the moon and Mars, who can make split milk whole again. It is an irreversible process that happens. Now what happens when the child is deprived of milk? We know in Hindi there is a saying, जब तक बच्चा नहीं रोता तब तक माँ उनको दूध नहीं देती. A mother gives milk to the child only when it cries, starts crying. Now what happens when the child starts crying? The mother would put a pacifier into its mouth to soothe it, and it thinks that it's sucking something, but actually it has got nothing. Or it may muffle the child. And you know what is the meaning of a muffler? You put a muffler on the mouth, the sound cannot come. And these things happen. Recently in our neighborhood also, there was a child with Down syndrome, yes. And the parents were sleeping in one room and the child was in the other room. The child burned to death and the parents feigned ignorance. We don't know what happened. So, dear friends, this is a story. Now let's try and understand what are the elements or characters in this story. Now the first thing is that pot of milk. Now what is this pot of milk? This pot of milk is actually civil society or our constitution. You can see here there's a display of the constitution, its preamble and our rights as in the constitution, which includes equality, fraternity, justice, liberty, secularism, socialism and democracy. But there are many people who don't like this. So one of the groups that don't like this, those people who said you should not touch this milk or stay far from it, they are the people who believe in caste, chua-chut. So they don't want you to enjoy this milk. You are lesser privileged persons than us. And then we have this other group who uses force, as we see, and this group is those who believe in criminalization. They use force to threaten and don't allow people to experience or gain their rights or experience what is in the constitution and kept for them. And then there's the next one who comes along, who siphons off something, yes, you could have guessed, that is corruption, that deprive people of their rights. But the most dangerous of all these really is this one, communalism. What happens in communalism? That polarization, hate speeches, facing one off against the other, separating people, telling what to eat, what to wear, whom to get married to. You arrest people in the name of love jihad, you arrest people in the name of so-called conversion, and these things go on, and then people cannot even get bail for years on end. So, dear friends, this is like cancer, a terminal disease that cannot be reversed. And when this happens, then there is what we call conflict and chaos or confusion. This is when the child starts flaying its arms and legs, that people are crying for justice, especially the minorities, Dalits, Adivasis, not getting their rights. They're shouting, they're screaming, but they're not being heard. So how do you suppress them? You use this. You use censorship. Yeah, the whole media is under your control, and if that also doesn't work, then you use something like this, CBCI and ED and other forms of control to suppress their actual feelings. But you may, on the other hand, also use a pacifier. And how do you use a pacifier? Well, you give some free rations. And you give free rations, the people think, "Arey yaar, kuch to mil raha hai, chup raho yaar." But then, how do we face this scenario? See, Gandhi ji used what we call civil disobedience or satyagraha. This is non-violent. Without violence, you can still oppose what is happening in the country. And the recent two examples of that is, one is of the farmers' agitation, which went on for 1 year, and very recently we saw in Ladakh, the Soni Wangchuk, for 21 days he fasted, not even drinking water in the freezing cold, fighting for the rights of the Ladakhi people, because he felt not only have their lands been taken over by China, and also on the other hand, big corporates are coming to do mineral mining in Ladakh. So, friends, this brings us to the question of what else can we do. Everybody may not be able to take up something like civil disobedience. I would say there are other ways that you can also make people aware by sharing with them what is going on, what we call awareness or conscientization. Make people understand, share with them, talk to them, tell them what is going on. In the same way, you can mobilize people. Mobilize people, get them together. 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, talk to them, share with them, and let's see, understand what is happening. And there's another very powerful form which I call cartoons and comedy or satire. See, there are people in social media, for example, Dhruv Rathi, he has got 20 million followers. Ravish Kumar has got 9 million followers. So many people are listening to them, watching them, understanding, and they're quoting facts and figures. On the other hand, there are some people who are satirists, and I have seen a few of them on YouTube, like Bhagat Ram and Rajiv Nigam. They speak so beautifully. They don't offend anybody, but they put their point very, very, very clearly. So, that being so, I would request every one of us to please vote judiciously, reflect upon it, think about it, and then decide what you want to do. Now, as far as our own Christian community is concerned, I would like to draw special attention to our people in Kerala, in Goa, and the Northeast. Now, why do I single these 3 regions? Because this is where Christians are in good numbers, and perhaps they could influence or impact the elections. My biggest concern really is in Kerala, because of late we have seen that very unfortunate developments, like the screening of the movie Kerala Story, which we know is fallacious, it is propaganda, and it encourages hatred against a particular community. So why is the church trying to screen such a movie? And I was even more shocked when I read a report by Varghese Joseph, the editor of Indian Catholic Matters, in which he says that Anil Anthony and his mother Elizabeth were influenced to join a particular party because of they were given a directive from a Marian shrine in Kerala. Now this is very, very distressing and shameful. I think our priests and bishops, whoever they are, please stay out of politics. Now let's come to Goa. Unfortunately, Goa has seen all the Palturams and Ayarams and Gayarams. They stand for election on one ticket, and as soon as the election is over, they switch loyalties almost immediately. So I have a special request to the people of Goa: if you're voting for somebody, please check out if they, to whatever extent possible, are they going to stick to their guts, or are going to switch loyalties as soon as they get elected. Now coming to the Northeast, it is a very delicate scenario, because I know that they are totally dependent on the center for funds, and therefore they tend to ally with whichever party is in the center. But somehow please understand that it's not only, you're not voting for the Northeast, you're not voting for the whole of India. And if you ally with a party which has got a communal agenda, you are becoming party of that communalization, and you are jeopardizing our people in different parts of the country where they are under attack, especially in UP, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. So dear friends, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope all of you will vote. I hope all of you will vote bearing in mind what our Indian Constitution says to us. So please like, comment, subscribe and share. And I especially request you to share this video with many others who may be dithering about voting. There are some who say, what's the use of voting? They're very cynical, they're anti everybody. Okay, nobody is sacrosanct, as you say in Hindi, dhood ka dhula hua koi nahi hai. But please look for the lesser evil and do vote for somebody who you think could be the better person or party that can take our nation forward. Thank you very much. God bless you. Jai Hind.